Welcome back everyone. Today we're continuing the trip to every zoo in the country with a visit to the Welsh Mountain Zoo. One thing that's a little bit different here is when you come by car, you actually pay in your car at the entrance and the car park seems to be more or less in the middle of the zoo. So I'm already inside. I've only been here a few minutes. There's already this great poster about enrichment. So obviously there's items in there that might look like rubbish, but they're not. It's just for the animals to play with or even contain food. So feeding enrichment, yeah. It's great that they are promoting this and educating the public about these sort of things and that they're providing this to the animals. They've also got a great poster explaining the EEP, so the breeding program for endangered species, to help maintain healthy populations in the European breeding program. Things like this is how zoos are helping save endangered species. It's really important. This is quite a narrow enclosure. I'm really intrigued to find out what's in it. I've not seen any signs or anything yet. I mean, the hanging platform suggests some kind of primate. Let's go find out. So it's for the Lar gibbon, but they're inside at the moment. Like I said, I've not been here very long, but the sign is actually really good because this is quite fun for the kid, you know, a wanted poster. But the information of what poachers actually do, the damage. 1 million pangolins over the last decade, 1.5 million plants in the last 3 years, 11,000 tortoises every year, and 100 tigers every year. And that's dying. It's horrific. So this is more about Wales than the zoo, but something I love is that all the signage is in Welsh and English. Like, they're so proud of their language and their heritage. It's amazing. Like, even here, we've got Burmese python, but also in Welsh. Another one of these great wanted posters, this time about illegal deforestation. So we've got 18 million hectares of forest lost every year. That results in 5 million tons of CO2 being released each year, the death of 5 million animals, and the global extinction of around 900 species. They've got this cute little ranger's get-up you can put on. It's a bit small, I think it's designed for kids, but I'm going to get involved anyway. Also on the signage front, what you can do to help the world. In the costume get-up, being a bit silly, that little coat I put on, turns out it was an adult-sized one as well. So I've switched up to that temporarily. This great little section here, with the little get-up I was just wearing, just to do with species and what scientists do, getting up close and personal with things, you know, small animals here, we've got footprints and feces to investigate. I always think this sort of stuff, especially for kids, is how people end up in an animal-based industry. Like, you come here, you play with it, it's a little bit fun, oh look at that poo, I can identify that, oh I know what this is. You know, your parents will be like, oh, well done. You take a lot of pride in it, you take a lot of interest, and you go out there and either just personally, you make a big difference as a kid, and then as you go up, you're really mindful and respectful of the world, or you really take it on and you just go, right, that's the career path I'm taking. I'm going to make the planet a better place. I think this stuff is stuff that really inspires children. I love seeing it in zoos. And of course, part of that is not shying away from the darker bit. So obviously, there's wanted posters earlier, but you know, just the illegal trade and hunting of all these animals. Got skins here. I mean, admittedly, not real. I mean, the antler is, but yeah, and the whole point of this is just to work out which animals are being poached. So you know, obviously, you've got your crocodile skull, lizard, I don't know what kind, deer antler. So is that really poaching? 'Cause they shed these naturally, but I suppose just to get kids involved. Got your fake tiger skin. And a bit of information that's quite scary, I didn't realise. Pangolins are the most poached animal in the world, which I did know. I didn't realise it was one taken from the wild every 5 minutes. So the direction obviously isn't correct because they can be in different directions, but I do wonder if the distance is correct on how far it is to get to Madagascar and the Amazon from where I'm stood. It'd be pretty cool if it is. So this is a Socotra Island baboon tarantula enclosure, and you can just see its legs moving sometimes on the other side of that bit of wood it's under. But what I really like about this enclosure is the walls of it have all got us facts about the country it's from, or the island it's from on it. Some stuff about the dragon blood tree over here, how endemic the species are here, and the island itself. Some nice information about unsustainable tourism and human development. Livestock can be a major issue as well. I do find remote places like this, where there's loads of endemic species, really interesting. It's why I'm fascinated with Madagascar, to be honest. But I don't think our little friend's going to come out and say hello. Just a couple of little swigs of the legs we saw. I enjoyed that tropical house. That was small, but really informative. That was really well laid out. So I find Margate always notoriously hard to see in zoos. They've actually got cameras set up inside so you can see them, but it's in the bed box at the moment. They're in there, just not out. Nice enclosure though. Look at that climbing stuff in there. A lot of hiding places. Sure, the best laid out enclosures are the ones where it's always hard to see the animal. I mean, even harder when they're in a bed box asleep, but yeah. No, the camera thing was a really good idea, I like that. I walked past this earlier, I think it was just some cool sort of art installation with some plants in it. It's not, it's the outside area for the Goldies monkeys. I didn't realise. That's really well done because it prevents them getting out and away, but it's open. There's no barriers. I wouldn't even thought it was an enclosure at first. It's just got water down here to prevent them getting over here. That's well thought through. Another great educational section on the condor. I think the way it's done with the clouds and the painting just makes it more interesting for children as well. This is some sad stuff. The risk of extinction due to poisoning, shooting, habitat loss and persecution. But some really interesting facts as well. I think kids would find quite funny. I think adults as well. Bald heads keep them clean whilst feasting on carcasses. And they don't build nests. They do their rearing in caves. This might be the first Andean condor I've ever seen. I can't think of another zoo I've seen them at. So the one on the ground is the male, and you can tell because it has the crest on the head. And this one up here is the female, with no crest. One of the highlights of the zoo, the brown bears. That was the perfect time to walk past and see the bear feeding. So I was walking past the keepers room and I was like, ooh, what are they doing? And they're putting the food out. So I just hung around for a bit. Bears came out, ate rabbits. That's fantastic timing. I love seeing that sort of thing. I mean, how many zoos can you go to where you actually get to see bears and you're there for the feeding times? They don't advertise the feeding times here. So you can, there are talks, there's a couple of shows that they do, so the penguins and things. But the actual feeding time is just when they happen. There's no talk for the bears or anything. They just put the food out, and if you're there, you're there. So that was perfect timing on my part. This is a nice big aviary with macaws in. But they're all clustered together at this end. This is a really nice sea lion enclosure. I love this enrichment. These floating barrels that look almost like jellyfish. They're all floating around like this. Some more crates at the back I can see. Some balls in here. And the water's really clear. You see them all swimming. Really active. Some more great info boards about how to help the oceans by the sea lions. So 2 about plastics and the danger of plastics. So 90% of seabirds have ingested plastic. How it takes to break it down. How diseases can grow on it and then damage corals. And then what you can do to stop it. So smoking, the filters of plastic, they enter the oceans. Balloons, so you can use bunting or flower gardens instead to celebrate. Recycling properly. Chewing gum is made of plastic, which I didn't even realise. But there are apparently plastic-free alternatives to gum. Who knew? That's a new one on me. Plastic bags I think we're all aware of. And then generally the 3 R's, reduce, reuse and recycle. And then the other info board is about overfishing. Obviously we've looked at this a little bit in the sea life vlogs as well. But this logo here is an important logo and it's for sustainable fishing. So we're not saying you can't have your seafood, if you like your fish and chips, go have it. But there are ways of doing it sustainably. Because there are a lot of issues if it's not done sustainably. So obviously overfishing, the stocks disappear quicker than we replace them. 40% of all fish caught worldwide are bycatch, so they're not even species we wanted to catch, so they're wasted. Sometimes it's illegal. Sharks are a big one. And as it says here, if overfishing continues the way it is, fisheries may collapse by 2050. We don't have long left to fix the planet, unfortunately. Every little act does help. It's a mountain zoo, so I shouldn't be surprised, but the views from the top are incredible. It's not the biggest penguin pool, but they're really using it. So you see small penguin pools like in sea life, and they don't seem to use them at all. And look at the size is, I wouldn't have thought they'd have gone for it, but they're being really fast in here and really using it. I wonder what the difference is. I wonder what it is about this that is making it so appealing to them. So they've got a lot of land they could be on, but they are choosing to be in it. They're choosing to swim, do their normal behaviour. It's really nice to see. I love it. And it goes surprisingly fast for such a small space. It is windy up here, so sorry if you can't hear me very well. This sign highlights the importance of zoos. So snow leopards are most likely in decline, they're a threatened species. But there are around 600 snow leopards in zoos around the world, with multiple breeding successes, including here, where a male and female couple born in 2014. This is how we can help save endangered species from extinction, along with obviously fixing the problems that are in the wild. Because if they do go extinct in the wild, we can at least then replenish them once we solve the problems they're facing. Let's hope it's not the end of the snow leopard. But those 2 cubs they did rear here have now moved on. One of them has gone to Paradise Wildlife Park in Hertfordshire, which is actually now renamed, is now Hertfordshire Zoo, I believe. And the other one's gone to Sweden, to Northern Ark Zoo. Apparently there's another baby! I was seconds too late for the baby snow leopard. I saw it walk in its interior enclosure around the corner. But there were 2 nice young ladies there who had a bit more luck and had seen it properly and showed me some photos. So it is adorable. I'm going to pop back a little bit later on. This has been around 3 times already. So they're doing it fast. I've only been around once yet. I'm like halfway around. I'll pop back in later and hopefully have a bit more luck and get some footage of it. Yeah, now at the red pandas and the otters. The otters aren't out and I have seen a glimpse of the red pandas. Let's go and get some footage. Literally a tiny bit of red fur there in the tree is all I can see at the moment. It's having a snooze. They also take part in conservation of the Himalayas through the breeding, public awareness and education, but also introduction of red pandas, Asian short-clawed otters and birds. So this zoo actively takes part in the Madagascan Vajoki project. I am probably pronouncing that wrong. And I mean, the first word isn't actually Madagascan, it's Madagascar? I'm not sure. But they take part in that, which carries out research on the wildlife to understand impacts that people are having on there, identify areas that need protection, research the sustainable use of Madagascan wildlife and products, so vanilla's a big one for that. Assign protective status to key areas, so it's really helping protect animals, plants. Engage with local people, that's a big thing in Madagascar, to help them become more sustainable, because a lot of their practices aren't sustainable at this point in time. And when I've done my tours of Madagascar, you have seen areas where local populations have changed how they behave and have found more sustainable ways of living, which is going to help them and the wildlife in the long run. And also assessing the conservation status of the wildlife there. So that's brilliant. I love when zoos tell you what they do for nature and the wildlife. It's important how they contribute back to the world. That's what we said, is that zoos have to justify why they exist, and projects like this are the justification. And also the education behind it. So this is normally a lemur walkthrough, but due to the weather it is closed. I'm guessing that's because we're having high winds this weekend. So when the weather isn't good enough to use the walkthrough for the lemurs, it's not just people restricted from the outside area, they do protect the lemurs as well. So the lemurs have a separate confined outside space, it's actually caged up there. And they only have access to there when the weather's bad. When the weather's good, and they can come outside, they have all of this outside walk area here as well. And that platform there is where the people do their walkthrough. And again, just more information highlighting the important work zoos take part in. So here we have a silver certificate from the Wildcats Conservation Alliance for their donation of £1,529 for wild tiger conservation in 2021. But they've in total donated £8,027. So that's incredible. Help them keep the big cats going. These are all red squirrel enclosures. I've not seen any signage for them yet. I'm guessing with this many, they're part of a breeding and release program in the UK. So the reason red squirrels are rare in this country is pretty much because of grey squirrels. So grey squirrels are actually from North America. They're introduced into England. They became fashionable sort of in the Victorian era. But obviously grey squirrels are larger than red squirrels, so they easily compete them for food and resources. Grey squirrels also carry a virus called squirrel pox, which grey squirrels are immune to, but red squirrels are not, so it kills them. That competition and death from the pox has led to the near extinction of red squirrels in the UK. And that's why it's so important that places breed them, release them, and we try to get the red squirrel population boost, and if we can, remove the grey squirrel population, which I know sounds harsh, but they are an invasive species, and we have to look after what is native here. Sometimes the invasive ones have to be removed. Which I know New Zealand is actually doing a very good job of at the moment, reducing their invasive mammal population, but that's a story for another day. So this is a timeline of how this zoo has helped red squirrels. It's starting from the first ones arriving here in 1989. In 1992, the first were born here. Then it released 3 into the wild in 1996 with radio collars to track them. With the ones released, 1 female actually breeds and they all remained in the area, which is brilliant. There were only 40 reds left on Anglesey, which is where they were releasing them at the time. And actually, incidentally, somewhere I used to work used to breed, and no, they still do breed and release red squirrels to Anglesey. So it's a teamwork effort. Unfortunately, it did lose some to squirrel pox. That put more research into that and how they could prevent that from happening. Then in 2004, they started releasing them in Newborough Forest, Anglesey. Then in 2015, they managed to completely eradicate grey squirrels from Anglesey. Apparently that cost nearly £1 million to do. And as I was saying, sometimes you have to remove invasive species to be able to help out the native population. So I completely support that. And as of 2016, 140 red squirrels were born here at this zoo. And as of 2018, 700 red squirrels now live in Anglesey. So that's a massive success. It's looking up for them. This zoo also takes part in the breeding and release of pine martens into the UK, which is incredible. Red squirrels and pine martens. So obviously it starts with the pine martens being bred here at the zoo, then suitable animals identified as release candidates, they're health checked and microchipped. Fitted with radio collars, which is nice, they can track them. It also says they will rot and fall off because they're leather, so it's not going to be a major risk for them to have all the time, so the batteries don't last forever. Trap cameras in the wild, so they can monitor them even when the collars are gone, which is good. Feeding stations to help them out. And those stations also have the ability to track which radio collar is nearby, so they can see who's where. And nest boxes introduced to encourage the breeding in the wild. And part of the reason they've been on the decline is they've been hunted for fur, predator control, and then habitat loss. So yeah, they're one of Britain's rarest native animals. And that's really sad. Got great enclosures here for breeding them. I've not actually seen one yet. And I have been to other zoos that have pine martens, and they can be a bit elusive. If they decide to set up in a nest box, they will. Although I've not seen any pine martens, I don't think I'm going to. I do like their enclosure, all this climbing stuff, but also got these little pipes for them to run through. And I like that. It's good. These are all hives for buckfast bees. And you probably can't see it on the camera, but they're quite active. There's loads coming in and out. And this is another good thing they're doing, because obviously this is helping a native bee population. So bees pollinate 5 to 15% of the UK's insect pollinated crops, but 1 in 10 European species of bee are at risk of extinction. And that's from urban development, reducing where they can live, pesticides used in agriculture, which I know we are starting to get a bit more control over now, especially in the UK, invasive species in general, and then, as for most species, climate change. We've also got a nice little book going through some information on some of the bee species of the world. So the Africanized killer bee is a man-made bee between European and African bees. And it's called killer bees because they're aggressive in nature when protecting their hive. And this one I love, buff-tailed bumblebee. Actually quite intelligent as bees go. Scientists have trained them to play bee football. But yeah, it just goes through all these different ones there. Look at that one's green. It's really interesting. I got lucky on my return trip. Here's the baby snow leopard. This is a very loud enclosure, I think mainly because of the weaver birds that are in here. There are some doves as well, a lemon dove and the European turtle dove. But everything is very hidden back in the foliage. It's very dense enclosure, which is good. It's very good for birds. It does mean I've not seen anything other than the weaver birds coming to and fro. Oh no, take it back. There's a lemon dove up there. And there are some weaver bird nests back there. Those beautiful little round structures that they weave together to, oh, nesting. I got lucky on the second trip to the pine martens and one has just come out of the nest box. So I was just going around the zoo again, my second trip around, and I got to the top and there was a bird display going on. Lady doing it said it's nearly 40km/h winds out there at the moment, and that's their cut-off for doing the display. Only one bird they have can fly in those conditions, and that is the turkey vulture, so they had those out. And then they also brought the penguin colony out, which is quite cute, so I'm playing with the feather. Yeah, it's nice. And also, by luck, the snow leopards are out. So I've come to shelter from the wind and the rain with the camels behind me, but we just saw the sea lion show and it was really informative. It was a good show. Obviously not a show in terms of like, tricks for the sake of tricks. They really just point that it's husbandry that they're training them for. So open your mouth, let's look at your teeth. Basically anything for veterinary procedures. Go use an x-ray machine, let's see your fins. Lots of users with animals now, and you don't always get to see the benefits and explain to you what it is. It's nice to have it explained. I know Colchester do a good bit with the elephants where they raise the feet to have a look at the feet and things. But a big part of this is, especially with sea lions, it can really make checking them from a veterinary point of view a lot easier. So obviously you don't want to anaesthetise animals too regularly, it's dangerous. With sea lions, it's even worse. So sea lions, when they dive, have the ability to shut off part of their circulatory system to prevent oxygenated blood going where it's not needed. And this just helps them conserve oxygen, stay underwater for longer. Unfortunately, if you anaesthetize them, sometimes that can kick in when they're asleep, like because of the anaesthetic. And so they'll just stop breathing or stop pumping oxygen around the body where they're meant to. And so they're more likely to die from it. So if it's possible to prevent them needing anaesthesia, that's better. And so that's the whole point of this kind of husbandry training, is that they can be done while they're conscious. So yeah, it was a really good show. I liked it. And the camels are sheltering too from the rain. It's not nice out there. There's a sign here saying the zoo was founded by Robert Jackson. And it says he was accidentally killed whilst fishing on May 30th, 1969. I'd be intrigued to know what happened. If anyone does, let me know. There's some good info here about palm oil. Now I try to be quite mindful of purchasing palm oil in products, make sure it's sustainable if it is in there. But there is an app you can get to help you make choices so that the food and products you're buying aren't harmful and do contain sustainable palm oil and not unsustainable palm oil. So if you guys are interested, there's an app you can get. Well, that brings us to the end of our trip to the Welsh Mountain Zoo, guys. I've had a really good day, even if it has now re-spoiled itself on the weather front and I am quite wet through. But it's a great zoo. Yeah, it's small enough that you can go on multiple times, and that's really benefited me because I didn't see the cub on the way around, but go back the second time, Snow Leopard cub was there. Go back a third time, the mum was out as well, so that was brilliant. And same for the pine marten, so you know, didn't see that the first time, went and sat with her the second time for a little bit and came out, didn't see much of him, but saw one of them. So that's good. Margate I did try 3 times and on no occasion. There's food in there at the moment, but on the little camera it's still in one of the boxes, so I'm not going to get out lucky. And education wise, they're great. So in the reptile house, all the stuff in there, great for the kids at the beginning. Palm oil behind, you know, good for adults. Got the app they recommend, so if you want to make some choices and help you out with those choices. So really going well there. Then all the information on what they do. So the conservation work abroad, having all the animals, you know, the tiger stuff they're doing, fantastic. And then with our own country, amazing. So the red squirrels, the pine martens, not just breeding them, but releasing them here, making a big difference. And that's what's important. And this is what I say, you know, I say it every vlog, I think, zoos need to justify why they exist and why they're keeping their animals. And I think here really does that justification well. They are doing a fantastic job. I would highly recommend a visit. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. Hope to see you next time. Bye.